Hello there. Today we're going to talk about decision fatigue among leaders. It's a really important topic that affects not only the leader themselves or the people they lead, but the organization as a whole. And this is really important. So we need to discuss this. So if we haven't met yet, my name is Dr. Lizette Ojeda, and I specialize in helping leaders who feel overwhelmed and exhausted be able to lead at their best and be able to have a personal life and take better care of themselves. And so let's get started. All right. So, decision fatigue and analysis paralysis. Let's get started right there. Um, you know, it's really overwhelming and it gives you a lot of pressure to have to make important decisions, like critical decisions, decisions that are high stakes, decisions that don't just affect the leader, but others, right? And that puts a lot of pressure on someone, especially if you have to make constant critical decisions. Okay, it becomes really overwhelming. And that's basically what decision fatigue is. It's when you feel overloaded with the responsibility of having to make a lot of decisions that take a lot of mental power because of the level of importance, significance, and of the decision that has to be made, and having to take into account all that's at stake, and having to evaluate all the different potential decisions to make, and a sense of being paralyzed in one's ability to make a decision. And so it causes a lot of problems. And so analysis paralysis is one of them, right? And it's not necessarily that you don't have the decision making skills that you require to handle hard things, to, when things come up unexpectedly, be able to think on your feet, right? And be able to feel a sense of control, and feel grounded, and not be shooken up by what's being presented to you in front of you, having to make decisions that you didn't expect you'd have to make throughout the day that has already probably been hectic, and really a packed full day for you, right? That's already sucked a lot of your energy and your mental abilities. And so, when you experience this, analysis paralysis, it decreases the quality of your decisions, right? Because you're not functioning at your full capacity, your full mental capacity, right? You're a smart person, you know what you're doing, but you're not a machine, right? You don't have an infinite amount of mental energy. It gets depleted throughout the day. And as you have consistent chronic stress, and on top of that, making difficult decisions. And so it all compounded really affects your ability to make quality decisions. And then the timeliness too. The more you think about it, overthinking, analysis paralysis, it you might procrastinate making a decision. And so as a leader, it's important for you to make timely decisions, because if you don't, it affects the progression of a project. It affects the people's progression, people that you lead, and their ability to make progress and move forward and know what you want them to do based on your decision, right? So they're looking to you to tell them which direction to go based on you leading them and telling them based on the decision you made, right? And so not only does it set a potential project back, not only does it affect your performance, but it also affects your ability to lead others to do their job. Um, and so that puts a lot of pressure on you too. And quite frankly, the decision fatigue goes beyond you. It doesn't just affect you, right? It affects the people around you, the people you lead, and the organization itself. Okay, lots of pressure that goes on there. Um, and the cognitive load makes it really difficult for you to be able to move forward faster. And it's not that you can't do this, okay? I want to make this clear, okay? Because I don't want you to internalize the challenges you have with being able to make a decision. All right. Um, you have to keep in mind that while you can handle hard things, you can handle a lot of things. You've been through a lot to get to where you are. You worked hard for your position. You're not a machine. Okay. And so have grace for yourself, but not just that. Do what you need to do to be able to feel like you are more confident in your ability to make decisions without you kind of, I'll just say stuttering, kind of like hesitating, not stuttering. Hesitating is a better word. Kind of like tiptoeing, feeling like you don't have the ability to make decisions, right? Point blank. So the other thing I want to talk about, and this leads me right to this, right? Whenever you have a difficulty making a decision, it puts a lot of pressure on yourself, and it shows up emotionally. So I've talked to lots of leaders who have a history of being able to stay cool, calm, and collected. But when you're constantly faced with these high stakes decisions that you have to make, again, that impact a lot of people, not just you, right? Not just whether you want to go up for the next promotion or not, right? Like, I'm not talking about that kind of decision, which is important, but I'm talking about these other decisions where pretty much everything and everyone around you gets impacted by your difficulty with making decisions. Okay. And even in your personal life, right? After a hard day's work of making lots of decisions, you might come home and somebody might ask you, hey, well, what did you decide for us to have for dinner? And that throws you over the edge, basically, something as simple as that, because you are completely overloaded. You're emotionally depleted from your ability to continue to handle with the pressure and the stress that you experience from trying to make a quick decision and the best decision. You get me? And so if you react like that, right, it affects you and the relationship you have with the person who asked the simple question, right? But because you've had a busy day, a mentally taxing day, that you might respond in a way that's not typical of you, and then that just spirals out of control because it might lead to like an argument, or maybe not talking for the rest of the day, or feeling connected, starting to experience distance. So, like I said, it doesn't just affect you, it affects everyone around you at work, in your personal life. And if this overwhelm, if this exhaustion continues, let me tell you, you're on your path to burnout. And hopefully you're not there. But if you don't address this, unfortunately, you likely will be. And so I want to make sure that you are aware of this so that you can prevent, right? Because prevention is less costly than intervention. And so I don't want you to get to the point where you're on the brink of burnout because of uncontrolled stress, right? The stress to make good decisions, the best decisions, the responsibility that comes with that. So if you don't tame that overwhelm and the exhaustion, 99% of the time, the people I talk to, that's where they're at. Okay. So don't want that for you. So keep that in mind. And then the third thing that I want to talk about is your confidence as a leader. It really impacts that. And while you may have stepped into your leadership position with lots of confidence and enthusiasm to make a difference and to make a bigger impact and to influence those you lead, whenever you're starting to struggle with making decisions that you have been given the responsibility to make, like you're in charge of this, and if it doesn't work out, it's like it's your name on it, right? Like and it makes you feel really anxious. It makes you start to wonder, gee, do I really have what it takes to be in this position? Or, gosh, people are going to find out that I really don't have what it takes to be a leader, that I'm more work than I am helpful, right? And so that just spirals out of control. You start to have what I say is not just overthinking, but I call it stinking thinking. So these negative thoughts, I call it the hater in your head who starts to tell you mean things, right? Like, you know you shouldn't have taken on this position. Now look at all the chaos you're creating because your inability to make decisions. And so you get maybe a lot of people are involved, and it just creates a bigger situation that you have to even make more decisions around, right? And so it can spiral out of control, and you might just kind of beat yourself up for that, right? Why can't I make firm, confident decisions like so and so? Why does it seem like I am speaking with trepidation, sharing my ideas, what I believe we should do, the next steps, sharing my strategic thoughts, right? And sharing my reasoning behind the decisions that I make, right? Being able to stand firm in what they are and being able to voice them in meetings that, you know what, I don't think that's the right decision. I think a good decision, a good route to take would be XYZ. And so you start to feel like a sense of self-doubt because you've been struggling. You've been struggling to make decisions. And like I said, it's not because you can't, it's because you're just depleted. Okay. So I hope that the decision fatigue, that you really truly know that it's not you, right? It's happening to you, but it's not really indicative of you and your abilities. And so what's really sad is when leaders are so affected by these thoughts, these self-doubts, these wondering, like, do I really, really have what it takes here? Or they start to feel so overwhelmed, so stressed out that they're like, you know what? I need to step back. I need to step down. I bit more than I can chew. And that's really sad because, like I said, it's not that the leader can't lead. They're just not able to lead at their best because of unmanaged stress that affects their ability to make strategic decisions that they feel very confident in, right? Especially when they're faced with very difficult decisions to make, like who to promote next, who to give more responsibility to with an important project, making difficult decisions when there are like layoffs, for example, right? And it's not easy. Not easy at all, especially among leaders who really want to make an impact, right? And they really want the best for their teams and the people that they lead. And so things like that become really hard and actually contribute to the emotional overload because it's related to decisions that affect people negatively when you have to make those kind of decisions like layoffs or performance improvement plans, having difficult conversations and having to make decisions as to where to go next. So that's something to take into account as well. And really, the organization ends up losing if the leader leaves, right? If the leader ends up leaving, and that's unfortunate too, because think about it, because so many reasons. And I'll start with for the organization, right? Like the cost, right? The resources, the time it took to train the leader, and then for them to just step down, like you lose good talent, top talent, high achievers. And so this message is for HR or learning and development. That you got to equip your leaders with the resources they need to succeed. Okay, they have what it takes. They're in that role for a reason. Let's set them up for success. Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about is how to decrease decision fatigue. So I want you to realize that one of the things that you should be focusing on is minimizing the amount of decisions you have to make. That's one. The other thing to think about is how to have a process for your decision making, right? Like, what are all the factors that you take into account? Like some could be your decision-making strategies that gets adapted and based on whatever situation is at hand. What are all the factors that you have to take into account? What are the pros and cons of the options that you have at hand? What are the resources you need to be able to carry out the decision that you make? Who needs to be involved, right? What decisions do you delegate to others? And when you make decisions, what things do you delegate to others? And so you got to be aware of all that. And the more you do that, the more quickly in your mind you'll be able to figure all that out. Like literally, like that's how I do it. It's like, okay, here's the situation. I need to make a decision. What are the things I need to consider? What are the different options? What's good about this? What's good about that? What's bad about this? What's bad about that? Right? What might happen if I go with this option or this option? Who might it affect? How might it affect the progress that we're making? Will it hinder us or will it help us to make this specific decision? Right? What decisions deserve more of your energy? Like if it's something that really won't matter, you need to be able to distinguish between things that matter and things that really don't. Because remember, you only have a limited amount of decision-making energy, right? Like if once your cup is empty, like there's nothing left to give that day. And sleeping might help. You wake up the next day ready to tackle the day. But if you're like most leaders who are overwhelmed and exhausted, your sleep is probably suffering. So that might not be as effective as it could be to take that time to sleep, to rejuvenate, reinvigorate yourself and feel fresh to go and handle the next day with all the things that you need to do. Let's see what I want. Okay, so the other thing that I want to tell you is just some quick tips about how you can make decisions and decrease the amount of decisions that you have to make. So one of my favorite ones is picking out your clothes, right, on Sundays. What are you going to wear? And why I love this is because it's so simple. And so instead of you every morning spending 5 minutes going through your closet trying to find something to wear, which right then and there is already depleting you from your limited decision-making energy cup, right? So you just put a little bit out for that. Is that really something you want to give your energy to? No, it's not. And so what I would recommend is on Sundays, just take some time to lay out your clothes. You don't have to get as specific as me. I actually have little tabs on hangers that say Monday, Tuesday through Friday. You don't have to get that specific. That makes my life easier because I don't even have to wonder which outfit is like the third one or the fourth one, things like that. But that's something really simple. And it saves you 5 minutes in the morning. And those 5 minutes are precious, especially when you're busy all day, going back to back from meetings, feeling like you can't even take a break, eat your lunch without multitasking or driving or in a meeting or at your desk working. That kind of thing is really important. So what could you do with those 5 extra minutes a day? Well, you could sleep a little longer. And if you're someone who's been, getting restless sleep, not being able to get quality sleep, maybe having difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep or even getting up from sleep, like you're exhausted. That's why you're not lazy. It's just, you're so exhausted. Okay. And so like 5 extra minutes to sleep in is precious if you're going through that. What else? Yes. So an extra 5 minutes that you can spend other than picking out your clothes for the day, drinking your coffee while sitting and being present and feeling calm, instead of drinking your coffee as you're multitasking, trying to get the morning routine going, right? Might be things that you're trying to do for yourself, might be things that you're trying to do for others. Like if you have school-age children, right? Getting them out the doors, that in and of itself is a challenge. I mean, I have 3 elementary school age kids, and mornings feel like an hour feels like 5 hours, honestly, because of the amount of energy that has to go into making sure everybody's got everything. And so being able to have everything as much as possible already there, ready to go, having some kind of system, not having to make decisions as to what to, give them for lunch, for example, if send them off to school. I think you get the point there, right? The other thing is those 5 extra minutes that you have, you could spend from just having a conversation with your family at home right before y'all go your separate ways and before you go out the door. And that really means a lot. I mean, 5 minutes can go a really long way. And so I don't want you to take that for granted, because what ends up happening most of the time is slowly but surely the relationship starts to get distant. And so those 5 minutes in the morning are precious to connect, right? Especially if you don't really see each other throughout the day, and then you come home tired and you don't really feel like being bothered, or you're kind of short with people because you just finished a full day of making tough decisions. And so that's another way that you could use those precious 5 minutes that you would save yourself by not waking up 5 minutes earlier to make sure that you've picked out your outfit for the day. Do it Sunday evenings. Try it, right? At least give it a shot, and I'm sure that you will find this really helpful. And look, like, you have to take this into your own hands, right? Like, nobody's gonna come and tell you, okay, you don't have to make those decisions. It's okay, take your time. Nobody's gonna do that, okay? And I don't want you to keep going through that. And so something as simple as what I just told you, try it. Really, it doesn't have to be complicated. You just have to make the time and make it the priority to do these things. And so that's one example. Do whatever you need to do, just giving you an idea, but do something about it. And like I said, it doesn't have to be complicated. It's really simple. What else did I want to tell you? Yeah, that's pretty much what I want to tell you. So look, as a leader, you're constantly making huge decisions that affect not just you, but others all around you. And when you don't feel confident in making your own decisions, it starts to really chip away at how you feel about yourself, how you see yourself, your identity as a leader, right? And it impacts the way you show up. And while you may have, used to show up with a lot of conviction, being able to stand your ground, when you feel shaky in the choices that you make, it doesn't feel good, not at all. Especially if you're a high achiever and you're used to having a lot of success. But when you got a lot of stress, that gets affected. Okay. I want you to keep in mind that this is not you. This is not indicative of you. It's just a symptom of a much bigger problem. And so if this is something that you're going through, we need to talk. Like I said, it doesn't have to be this way. It's something that can be addressed, I don't want to say easily, but simply, right? Based on tools that work. Like the approaches that I take are based on science. So they're evidence backed. And that means I'm not just pulling things out of my ear, right? Like my mind. It's based on my own personal experience, my experiences with working with organizations and their leaders, but also it's grounded in science. So yeah, reach out to me if you want some help with this. I'm happy to support you. So that's all I got for you until next time. So wish you the best. Take care.